Hey guys, I just found out the Oscar nominees and I really wanted to talk about them, so I'm gonna talk to myself about them to a microphone. And then two people are gonna listen to it on YouTube. Gonna get straight in. This is a CNN article talking about the nominees. Not that it matters that it's CNN, because the nominees are gonna be the same no matter where. So let's start with what the good ones. Which ones have a good selection of nominees? Let's start with makeup and hairstyling. You got Darkest Hour and Wanda in there. They both had Darkest Hour turned Gary Oldman into Winston Churchill. It's pretty good. Victoria and Abdul, I haven't seen it, but as far as I can tell, it's just about Queen Victoria and an Indian guy. So I don't know. Don't know if they're really innovating in that movie. Maybe I missed something. Another good one is film editing. You got Baby Driver, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, and Three Billboards. All great, fantastic. You also got I, Tonya, which I didn't see, so I can't comment on that. But film editing, also good. Visual effects is a fantastic selection. You've got Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong, Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and War for the Planet of the Apes. That is going to be a tight race in visual effects. Fantastic. It's looking good so far. I'm liking these nominees because the last few years they've been terrible. So I was seeing this and I was thinking, wow, it's looking pretty good so far. And then we go into sound mixing and it's still looking pretty up. You got Baby Driver as the first one, fantastic sound mixing. Blade Runner 2049, Hans Zimmer back at it again with some fantastic stuff. I'm not sure if he did all the mixing. I know he did the soundtrack though. Dunkirk. There were some moments in there where purely based on the sound, with like the ticking and the tinnitus sounds from the bombs and stuff. Fantastic stuff. Shape of Water. Gonna be honest, I haven't actually seen it yet because I'm in the UK and it's not here yet. But I assume sound mix. I don't know. Star Wars: The Last Jedi was also great, except for that one moment where everything's silent and apparently a bunch of cinemas had to put a warning on it that the screen hadn't broken or whatever. Sound editing as well, you got Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, Last Jedi. Kind of the same films creeping in here, but that's fine. They were all great films. I assume still haven't seen The Shape of Water, as I said. Costume design, also good. I was trying to get really optimistic here with this one, forgetting that these are just the small fry categories. Costume design, Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Shape of Water, Victoria and Abdul, and Phantom Thread. Haven't seen anything about Phantom Thread. I don't even know what that is. But the rest of them, just from what I've seen, have great costumes. Beauty and the Beast. Can't go wrong with it. Cinematography. Blade Runner 2049 is the obvious winner of this one, in my opinion. With a close runner-up being Dunkirk. And then the other nominees are Darkest Hour, Mudbound, and The Shape of Water, which I haven't seen. Production design, Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Shape of Water. As I've said already, a lot of the same things creeping in here. Original screenplay, The Big Sick, which I was interested in. It's got a lot of comedians who I like in it, and apparently it's based on a true story or something. Get Out, fantastic. I'd agree that has a fantastic screenplay. Lady Bird. I haven't seen it. Again, heard good things. Shape of Water. I've said about that one enough. Three Billboards. That had a fantastic script. It was funny yet serious at the same time in a way that only the guy that made this film seems to be able to do. He also did in Seven Psychopaths and can't remember what the other film he did was. Adapted screenplay. Call Me by Your Name. I have some opinions about this movie. I don't think it looks very good, and I'm not going to go see it because it looks really boring. But that's not that complicated, actually. That's pretty simple. It looks obscenely boring, and that's about it. The Disaster Artist. I'd agree that is an adapted screenplay. I'm glad it got an Oscar nom. Tommy Wiseau is probably so excited about that. Logan, yeah, great. I'm glad more that we're seeing. This is what the second superhero movie ever to have received an Oscar nomination. Molly's Game actually looked pretty good, and Mudbound, I haven't heard of it. Animated feature film. This is where it starts to all fall apart. Now, the Oscars, the Academy, are famously terrible at choosing animated films to nominate. Let's see what they've got here. The Bread Man. Never heard of it, so I can't really comment on that. Loving Vincent. That looked pretty good. Apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently it's kind of slow. The story's not really all there, but just visually, what they did visually to create the film is worth respecting in its own right. And we've got Coco. I haven't seen it, but it kind of looks to be one of Pixar's weaker projects. But again, I can't really comment. And we've got Ferdinand, which looked really bad. It was like it was John Cena as a bull, and it's like, oh, don't judge a book by its cover. Who cares? I don't care. Look, it looked really boring. Okay, and then top nominee, The Boss Baby. What is that for real? I've seen the movie. I've actually watched The Boss Baby, or at least the second half of it. It was just so bizarre. It was surreal. That's what it was. It was like an acid trip, and it didn't make any sense in terms of just a story. But people always wave it off like, oh, it's a children's film. It doesn't have to make sense. Of course it has to make sense. What are we telling children if our children's films don't make sense? You know, films and media tell people, especially children, they inform children about life. You know, cartoons often have messages, which are things they can carry on into real life. And if the films don't make sense, we're just telling kids, well, life doesn't make sense. Boo-hoo. Don't worry about it. Especially if we're telling them, it's okay that it doesn't make sense. Then we've got original score. Dunkirk had great sound mixing. I wouldn't say the soundtrack was all that good. Phantom Thread, again, haven't heard of it. Shape of Water sounded pretty good. Some nice, very, very reminiscent of the time period it's sort of mirroring. But again, I haven't seen the film. I've just seen some stuff about it. Last Jedi. Kind of just the general Star Wars fare in terms of soundtracking, but Three Billboards, not really a standout. Or at least I didn't notice anything that stood out to me. I'm really genuinely surprised that Blade Runner 2049 isn't on here. On my Tumblr, here's a subtle plug. On my Tumblr, you can find my top 11 list of soundtracks from 2017. It's actually top 5, but the first 5 are just the obscenely amazing ones. And then the bottom 6 are called honorable mentions, but they're just sort of not as good. Best Director. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk. I agree. Nolan is always good. It's just an undeniable fact. Good nomination. Jordan Peele for Get Out. I agree. Considering it's his first big film, he did a fantastic job on it. It was a really good film. It was a really well-made film. It was a good horror movie in its own right, whilst also being a good satire of horror movies. It had a bit of everything, really. Greta Gerwig, whatever, for Lady Bird. Again, haven't seen it. Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread. Again, haven't seen it. Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. Want to see it, haven't seen it. And then this was the one that really annoyed me. Other than Best Animated Picture, being a big fan of animated movies that I am, and a big fan of animation in general. Animated Picture really annoyed me. Why is The Boss Baby there? Surely there were better animated movies in 2017. Anywho, Best Picture. The nominees: Call Me By Your Name. Again, looked really boring, but kind of looked Oscar baity. And I hate to say it, this will sound really bad, but I kind of feel like it's only here to fill in the diversity quota of the Academy Awards, because the people who run the Academy Awards are too afraid now, and they overcompensate a lot of the time in terms of nominees. I mean, Call Me By Your Name might be an amazing film, but again, I haven't seen it. But I just know that in the past they have overcompensated in the diversity department. Darkest Hour, again, looks like it has good script, looks like it has good acting, visually it looked pretty good. I haven't seen it though. Dunkirk, I have seen it. Really, really good film, but not as good as what I would have chosen as Best Picture. Get Out, fantastic film. I'd say it's even better than Dunkirk because it's just that little bit more gripping, I'd say. I like to be gripped by my movies. I like to want to know what's going to happen. In Dunkirk, I sort of was interested, but if everyone had just suddenly died, I would have been like, okay. Lady Bird, heard great things. Again, I haven't seen it. Phantom Thread, never even heard of it. The Post, great actors. Based on a true story, probably. They usually are. I'm being really insulting to the Academy Awards. It's because I don't respect them very much anymore. For the last few years, actually, they've just become a really disreputable awards ceremony. Not quite to the level of the MTV Awards. The MTV Awards used to not only be funny and choose good hosts, but they also used to give awards to people who had actually earned them, instead of just whoever pays them the most money. And then if it was because they paid them the most money, they did a better job of hiding it in the MTV Awards. But I'm not talking about the MTV Awards. I'll stop talking about that. I'm talking about the Oscars here. What was I on? The Post. Shape of Water, Best Picture. Again, haven't seen it. Guillemero's last film, which I think was an animated movie. I think that was Guillermo. Wasn't so great. But maybe Shape of Water is amazing. Who knows? Where's Death Stranding gameplay footage, huh, Guillermo? Get onto your buddy Kojima about that, please. 3 Billboards. It was great, but I don't think it comes close to my personal Best Picture. Because none of these come close to my personal Best Picture. None of these nominees come close. Because Best Film of the Year is the Emoji Movie, baby! Okay, but it's actually because that film was not only beautiful and just fantastic. It was fantastically scripted. The themes were deftly woven in, but it was probably the best. What's the phrasing I'm going to use? The best long-time sequel. Long-time sequel being a sequel to a film that never got a sequel, but then many years later is given one because a company thinks it'll make them a profit. A good example of a bad one of these is Independence Day Resurgence. This, Blade Runner 2049, is an example of the best example, because not only does it match and build on the themes and visual style and sound and script of the first one, but it in many ways outdoes the original movie. And it keeps a lot of the mysteries that were integral to the movie a secret. I won't give anything away because I want as many people as possible to buy this film on Blu-ray disc when it comes out in February 5th. or digital, doesn't matter. It's just you need to make up for the box office because this film failed at the box office. I don't know why. It's a cult classic. Who didn't go and see it? Anyway. Blade Runner 2049 is the best film of the year by a long shot for me. I saw it twice, and the first time I saw it, I came out thinking that was really good. The second time I saw it, I didn't notice, knowingly notice anything that I hadn't noticed the last time. I think I just gave myself more of a chance to sit there and take everything in, already knowing the plot and what's going to happen. I just sat there and took everything in. And it was just the second time I came out, I was absolutely adamant that it was my favorite film of the year. So there you go. Who needs the Academy Awards? All you need is me. I know the objective truth that is not subjective or my personal opinion. But these guys' stuff is not objective in any way. This is whoever's paid them the most money or whoever fills their diversity quota the best. That's an unpopular opinion right there, but it's true and we all know it. I don't respect the Oscars. Thank you and good night.
Some people call me the space cowboy. Wicked wild west, desperado, rough rider. No, you don't want nada. There's 6 gunning this, brother running this. Buffalo, no.